everyone, my name's Danielle, and this week we're going to feature Farshore, which is from Starling Games. I'm not sure you heard, but it's the newest addition to the Everdell universe, except this one is standalone. So there's been lots of fun expansions, but this one has its own board, and it has its own structure. So we already did the Everdell Trio Gingerbread, and now we're going to try doing this cool lighthouse that's featured in this game. And we're going to do it out of gingerbread, except we'll try a different technique and cover it in fondant, and then we can use paints and airbrush and all sorts of fun things to make it look like this cool creation. Let's get started. Let's try the Farshore and begin our baking adventure. It begins with my favorite gingerbread recipe, which is the same one used in my Everdell tree. Combine your brown sugar and softened and salted butter in a mixer on medium speed. You want to mix it for about 2 minutes to get it smooth and fluffy. I'll put the link below to the full recipes, which will have all the quantities you need. Combine all the dry ingredients in a bowl, including baking soda, ginger, cinnamon, allspice, and salt. Give it a quick mix. After your 2 minutes, add in your egg, water, and molasses to the butter mixture. Mix it again until it's nice and homogeneous. Then you're going to slowly add your flour mixture until it's a sticky dough. It's definitely going to look different than regular dough because it's not really going to pull away. Scrape it out of the bowl and put it into some plastic wrap. Wrap it up and let it chill for at least an hour before continuing. Time to bake. I decided that'd be easier to recreate a slightly larger size than the actual lighthouse, but you could also just trace the pieces and then cut them out to make stencils. Once your dough's been rolled out to about 1/4 inch thickness, use your stencils to cut out the 2 main pieces and then your 2 smaller ones. Don't worry about cutting the slits into the cookies yet, because they'll just spread anyway. Bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes or until it's brown around the edges and the top does not look wet. Remove it from the oven and let it cool for 2 minutes. Then brace yourself for holding on to the hot cookies. Use a sharp knife to cut slits into the cookies, and these will be used to fit our cookies together so we don't actually need any glue or anything to hold it together. Unlike other cookies, you want to let these cool completely on the tray to help them get even harder. Thankfully, I cut my pieces big enough that they fit together quite nicely. You may need to trim the height of one or the other of your big pieces. This way it'll rest on the ground and it'll take the stress off your cookie and make it less likely to snap in half. The hard part is definitely sliding the little pieces over it. Use trial and error to trim away at your openings until it can slide over freely or maybe with a little wiggling. If a piece breaks, you can make some caramel glue, or I opted for using a little corn syrup under my fondant. Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. If you want to see even more cool creations, subscribe to my channel, Board Game Bakes. Thanks! For my Everdell tree, I used royal icing to decorate it, but I wanted to try something new and be able to paint the whole structure, so I covered it in white fondant. I always think that covering things with fondant will be easier, but it takes way longer than I think. Take a batch of marshmallow or store-bought fondant and roll it out as thin as possible. Mine was hopefully less than 1/8 of an inch thick. Cut out sections and use corn syrup as a glue to hold the fondant on. This worked amazingly well. Another fun eureka moment was when I remembered that I had the pieces that my stencils came from. So I used a kind of reverse stencil to cut out the big side pieces. Win. I'll probably to cut out some little ones to fill in the bits. And once you have all the main pieces on, a fun trick is to heat up your fondant again so it's nice and soft and more Play-Doh-y, and you could fill in any of those pieces that are left exposed. I got to whip out one of my favorite tools, which has been staying neglected in my basement for far too long, my airbrush machine. Woohoo! You could probably skip this step, but I used it to add the base layer of wood and clay colors onto the structure and just start at the beginning of shading. This way the color had more depth and not just different layers of the paint. I miss painting. Traveling is fun, but it's nice to sit down and see my baked goods come together. Pick a spot to start and go. I opted for the dark brown trees underneath our lighthouse. Take brown edible gel and mix it with a drop of alcohol to get a paintable consistency. You use alcohol so this way, as it evaporates, you won't have a soggy piece of fondant because nobody wants that. Use your brown to add shadows, definition, and to fill in the parts that are solid trees. Leave areas where the green will be as blank. The dark brown is also used to add the lines to the lighthouse. These are basically horizontal, right? I like to continue working with one color all over the piece before moving on. The top platform is also a nice dark brown. The roof of the lighthouse has different shades of green, but also has that black accent. and even lines around the side. Roof of the lighthouse has different shades of green, which definitely make it feel more leafy to me. To continue with the green, head to the ground level and add your moss areas. This is where I realized that I need to buy more white paint, but thankfully I had enough to make the light patches of green, which really make the structure pop. For the actual lighthouse, the white looks almost like feathers, so it was fun just putting random streaks on the side and trying to make it match the patterns at least slightly. While that dries, use yellow to create lights on the top, and that dark brown, as I said, with the accents along the sides. Use some of that white to add in some lights would make it pop, and the orange which really makes it finally look like a lighthouse. As a final touch, use a brownish green to add the accents to the lighthouse and highlight that the actual structure doesn't even extend to the end of the cardboard. Give it one more look, and wow! It may be smaller than the Everdell tree, but it's definitely still mighty and mighty fine. Thanks for watching another episode of Board Game Bakes. This game was a secret game, so it was fun to finally get to share it with you. And it was also really fun to finally get to bake again because I had a lot of fun busyness this summer, but I didn't really get a lot of chances to bake. So it was fun to take out all my baking things, my decorating tools, and get them ready to use again. What's the game that you're looking for the most at Gen Con? Gen Con's just around the corner. Sadly, I won't be going, but I can live vicariously through all you, so let me know. What are you looking forward to? Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!